Hello everybody, welcome to Module 3. I hope you are doing well so far. This Module 3 will cover design of a seawater desalination plant. You studied stakeholder and community engagement in Block 1 and design of a wastewater treatment plant comparing a membrane bioreactor with a conventional treatment process in Block 2. As such, you already know how to engage stakeholders and the design of a wastewater treatment plant. The last task in this block 3 will be designing a seawater desalination plant, which is one of the most important treatment process as an alternative water resource. This content will cover what do we have to study to design a seawater desalination plant? What's the key terms used to describe the membrane processes? Water quality parameters for membrane processes? Was introduction to reverse osmosis. So as you know, the reverse osmosis is the most important process in seawater desalination. That's why reason we need to discuss about the reverse osmosis very detailed, how to design RO and case studies in Sydney desalination plant, and we need to learn the computer-based design of the reverse osmosis. So water application value engine provided by the Dow. So we will utilize this software, and then we can design better way of the integration of water treatment process for seawater desalination. So already we discussed in block 2 wastewater reuse. So in front of our university at UTS, so we have a Central Park. So underground we have a wastewater reuse plant. So already you designed anaerobic bioreactor, aerobic bioreactor, membrane bioreactor. So membrane bioreactor located in basement in this building, and we have reverse osmosis for wastewater reuse. So this reverse osmosis will be covered in this block 3, which will give a better idea to remove all the contaminant to produce the recycled quality of wastewater. So let's look at the desalination. So if you see the global seawater desalination capacity, so you can see them. They are located in the US and Middle East. In particular, Saudi Arabia is the largest desalination plant. Also Australia, we have several major desalination plants. So capital cost of the desalination plant since 2013, it keep increasing because most of people want to live in near the sea, and then they have urbanization in near the around the seawater, and we need more water like Sydney, Melbourne, so Brisbane, Perth, and Adelaide. So we are all located near ocean, which will be a very important water resource to responding to the growing the population. So we need to learn what's the seawater desalination. So this is the example desalination in Australia. So this is the timeline of the desalination milestone. So you can see all the detail. And 2008, so Sydney desalination plant was initiated because of Sydney dam capacity. So you can see the 2008. So dam level was lower than 50%, and then we need to look at the alternative water resource. That's the reason why we constructed a Sydney desalination plant, and this capacity is 250 megaliter per day. It costed $2.1 billion. We first operated January 2010, and operations was shut down June 2012 because we had enough rainfall and dam level increased almost 99%. That's the reason why it was completely shut down, because the desalination plant require a lot of energy, and we reoperated when we had 70% of dam level, and it was January last year. So depending on the dam level, we have reoperation and shutdown for our desalination. So let's look at how many desalination plants we have in Australia. So we have 6 desalination plants: Gold Coast Desalination Plant, Sydney, Victoria, Adelaide, and Perth Southern Desalination Plant. So you can see that they all consist of renewable energy certificates based on the wind farm. So this is the major desalination plant in Australia in the future. So as population grow, even Newcastle, Wollongong, and then another major city may require a big desalination plant to sustain their water resource. So let's look at the Gold Coast Desalination Plant. So I don't want to go for all the details. So just want to focus on see what the desalination treatment process, because they have a different process. And then block 3, we are targeting on mainly how to design the reverse osmosis and seawater desalination plant, which is relevant to our assignment 3. So 133 million liter per day. So it consists of drum screening to remove the particle, and dual media filtration, 5 micron cartridge filtration system in front of reverse osmosis, and then CO2 remineralization. How about Victoria? 440 million liter per day, and this process consists of also drum screens, dual media pressure filtration, cartridge filtration, second pass seawater reverse osmosis system, and lime and CO2 remineralization. Adelaide, 300 megaliter per day, and this process ultrafiltration followed by second pass seawater reverse osmosis system, and post-treatment has very much similar to previous treatment process, lime and CO2 remineralization. And the Perth desalination plant, this plant has band screens, dual media filtration, 5 micrometer cartridge filtration, and second pass seawater reverse osmosis system, and lime and CO2 remineralization. Southern Seawater Desalination Plant, where it's very closely located to the Perth Desalination Plant, 300 megaliters per day, band screens, ultrafiltration, PVDF, this is the polymer name, and pressure filters, 5 micro cartridge filtration, second pass seawater reverse osmosis system, lime and CO2 remineralization. How about our desalination plant in Sydney? The capacity is 250 megaliter per day. This process consists of drum screens, dual media gravity filtration system, micro cartridge filtration. Here, micro cartridge filtration just try to protect the second pass seawater reverse osmosis, just in case large particle pass through this gravity filtration, and then try to reduce the membrane fouling to reverse osmosis system. And post-treatment is lime, fluoride, CO2 remineralization. So compared to the other plant, so post-treatment, there is the one more special post-treatment, fluoride. So we can also think about, even though we have 6 desalination plants, they are a little bit different. However, the most common process is the seawater reverse osmosis, RO process. Is very consistent. So we have to learn how to design this kind of desalination plant. This is not only seawater desalination plant. So reverse osmosis can be used for the wastewater reuse, also industrial water reuse, mining water reuse. So reverse osmosis is the very well established technology for recycling water, because this can remove all the salt and contaminants. So this is the Sydney Metropolitan water plant scenario figures. So Sydney desalination plant located near airport. So you can see the canal. So we have a Sydney desalination plant. So this is the Botany Bay. So we collect the seawater here and process, and then supply to the Sydney water supply area, and then we can benefit to the desalinated water. Let's watch a video of a Sydney desalination plant, how this desalination plant works. So if you live in the city, so you already tasted what's the seawater desalination water. So you have a mixture with dam water, surface water, and 15% of the desalinated water will be mixed and then supplied to the city. So UTSA is the one of the beneficial for this desalinated water. So in the future, the Sydney Water was considered to expand the Sydney desalination plant from 200 megaliter per day capacity to double-sized 500 megaliter per day, because the population grow and then we may have severe drought. So that's the one of planning for Sydney desalination plant. So for this desalination plant briefly, and let's look at a little bit more detail how this desalination plant has to be designed. So you can see this is the desalination plant general schematic. So this is the exactly same process schematic of Sydney and Gold Coast desalination plants. So two desalination plants were designed by the Veolia, and then they made a very similar process. So let's look at one by one, and then we can better understand how to design better for this process. So seawater. So already you have experienced seawater. What's the taste of seawater? It's very salty, because the salt concentration is almost 3.5%, 35 gram per liter. So where is this salt from? So when this seawater concentration is very high, from when? So when the earth was born 100 millions ago, at that time we had only volcano, and then everything was just burned, and after volcano for a long time, and then we had a lot of rainings. So this raining just washed out all the dissolved salt, such as sodium chloride, magnesium, calcium, and any kind of dissolved salt and organics. That's the reason why seawater was 35 gram per liter when the earth was born, and then still the seawater concentration is very much similar. So this seawater salt concentration is problematic, because when you design this high salt, we have to remove these small molecules, so that we have to spend a lot of energy, and we need to go through first this screening system for the pre-filtration and chlorination. So already you know the chlorine will kill bacteria, so microorganisms will die because the chlorination. So in the process, pumping, piping, so we want to make sure that all the biofilm will never ever grow, so performance will be maintaining very sustainably, and chlorine will be added to remove all the microorganism and biofilm inhibition. And ferric chloride. So ferric chloride will be dosed, because large particle can be influence this process, which will clog the media filter reverse osmosis. So we want to remove the large particle. So flocculation using iron chloride, so we can try to remove and settling down. However, mostly the seawater quality of large particle is very clean, not really heavily contaminated by the large particles. So whenever we have high turbidity concentration, so we can add ferric chloride. So this ferric chloride is from time to time when you have a very large concentration of turbidity, you can apply for this iron chloride concentration. And pH adjustment. So what's the pH of water? So let's just see our drinking water. So our table water pH around 6.5 to 7.5, very neutral pH. And what's the pH of Coca-Cola? So Coca-Cola pH is around pH 2, and lemonade, so pH is very low. That's the reason why when you have your teeth for a long time is Coca-Cola and lemonade. So this low pH will dissolve our calcium compound in our teeth. So we have to consider what's the pH of the seawater. So this pH of seawater is around 8 or 9, 8 to 9. So why the pH is very high in seawater? So in the seawater is the dissolved or inorganic carbon, which is the total of aqueous CO2 and bicarbonate and carbonate. So this CO2 concentration in the air, they keep exchange their concentration with seawater, so that they have a different pH variation depending on what kind of you have a dominant species among this CO2 bicarbonate and carbonate. So you can see the CO2 concentration. If you have more than pH 8, so you don't have any more CO2 concentration. However, when you have pH 8, so this bicarbonate has the highest concentration. So when you have a pH more than 9, so this carbonate concentration is the highest. So this is the reason why the seawater has a very high concentration of bicarbonate, and then this created a good buffer solution and created a very high pH of the seawater. The carbonate ion concentration increase with increase in pH, and when more CO2 dissolves in seawater, it becomes more acidic. So let's think about climate change. So we increase the CO2 concentration, which means CO2 will dissolve more in the seawater. So seawater CO2 concentration increase, so it becomes more acidic condition, which will be changing the seawater ecosystem. For example, like shells, crabs, or corals. So they need calcium to create their skins or their lives. And when you have a high pH, and they can produce the CO bicarbonate, carbonate, and then produce the calcium carbonate with their skins and corals. However, when you have a very high concentration of CO2 due to the climate change, and this seawater becomes more acidic, which means the coral cannot grow and shells, crabs cannot survive in the seawater. That's the reason why the pH of seawater depending on also CO2 bicarbonate, carbonate concentration. So after this pH. So this pH is relatively high, which will create the inorganic scaling and fouling. That's the reason why we need to make sure lower pH. So pH A, we have to put the hydrogen sulfate to reduce the pH up to A, which will make a better performance of this dual media filter and reverse osmosis process. So pH has to be reduced 6 based on the original pH of A. And next step is dual media filtration and pretreatment. So we need to remove some of the particle in the seawater. So this dual media filtration is like a sand filter or some anthracite filtration system. So you can have a seawater pass through this media filter, which will remove most of large particle and go for the reverse osmosis process. So when you have your assignment 3, so you can select your preferred pretreatment process. So there are 2 different pretreatment process. One is conventional, which is dual media filter or sand filter. So Sydney Desalination Plant and Gold Coast, Victoria Desalination Plant, Perth Desalination Plant. So 4 of the desalination plant consist of this media filtration we call conventional pretreatment. And Southern Desalination Plant, Adelaide Desalination Plant include ultrafiltration pretreatment. So 2 plants consist of ultrafiltration, advanced pretreatment, and 4 plants are conventional pretreatment. So when you're considering all the capital cost, when an operation and maintenance cost, energy cost, capital cost, so total cost is very much similar, but people believe ultrafiltration, advanced pretreatment is better quality of your pretreated water and then very consistent performance of reverse osmosis. That's why people like to have more ultrafiltration pretreatment. But conventional is a little bit cost effective, also easy to maintain, easy to handle and operate. That's the advantages of this pretreatment system. That's why when you do your assignment 3, so you can select conventional treatment, sand filtration, media filtration, which already covered in assignment 2. Block 2, there is some section of the filtration system design, and ultrafiltration also you have experienced the membrane bioreactor, so you can have a very brief design of this After pretreatment dual media filter and just before the reverse osmosis, so you need to go through anti-scalene dose. So what's the anti-scalene? So we have a seawater and we need to extract water using reverse osmosis, which means your concentration of calcium, magnesium, silica, which are the very dominant inorganic scaling compounds. So you can see the calcium carbonate, because of the pure water is extracted, your concentration of calcium and CO3 increased, and you will have this kind of crystal on the surface of the outer membrane. Also calcium sulfate and magnesium carbonate, even calcium phosphate. There are many different of your inorganic scalant because of low solubility, and they try to create the crystals. So this crystal will be a problem to clog the reverse osmosis membrane. So we need to include anti-scalant, which are surface active materials that interfere with precipitation reactions in three primary ways: threshold inhibition, crystal modification, and dispersion. So anti-scalant try to interfere your precipitation reaction from these three ways. And in seawater desalination, we have a commonly used anti-scalant, which is sodium hexametaphosphate. So this is the sodium phosphate. So this composition can capture your calcium, magnesium, and some of your inorganic scalant primary compound and try to reduce your inorganic scaling. So this is the structure of this sodium hexametaphosphate. So after you add this one, also we need to go through dechlorination. So what's the dechlorination? So we had the chlorination here to remove microorganisms and bacteria to inhibit biofilm in the pump, pipeline, and filtration system. And we have a dechlorination. So what's the process? So dechlorination process just to remove chlorine. So why we have to remove chlorine? Because the reverse osmosis membrane is polymer, which is the polyamide. So this polymer will be degradable when you have oxidant. So chlorine is a very strong oxidant which will degrade your RO polymer surface. So this process can be resolved by addition of sodium bisulfite (SBS) and granular activate carbon filter. So normally in seawater desalination we don't have to go through another granular activate carbon filter, because this chemisorption process where chlorine reacts with the carbon surface, which will make active chlorine to chloride ions. So this chloride ion is no longer oxidant, so this is the very safe for reverse osmosis. However, this cannot be used for this dechlorination in seawater desalination. We just put the SBS. So dosing rate is around 3:1 ratio of SBS Cl2 active chlorine dose. So reaction time is about 2 minutes. So this is the SBS and chlorine together with water and sodium sulfate, and then produce the hypochlorite. So this compound Cl2 is a strong oxidant, but becomes just a normal salt chloride ion. Also, this is the similar reaction. So we have chlorine active material to iron salt. So that's the reason why we need a dechlorination process. And reverse osmosis, which is the most important, because seawater desalination, wastewater reuse, and industrial and mining, a lot of process consist of reverse osmosis, because they remove basically everything. And after this reverse osmosis membrane, so we will cover this more reverse osmosis RO next slide, because this is the one of the main target of this block 3. So we will make a very detailed explanation of reverse osmosis membrane, module, process design. So assignment 3 is very much related to how to design reverse osmosis. After reverse osmosis, most of salt removed and the pure water is collected, and desalinated water go to post-treatment with lime. So we just call remineralization. So why do we have to go through remineralization? Because we removed all the minerals from seawater after reverse osmosis. So raw mineral water has a few adverse effects. First one is the very high corrosion potential. So if you have no minerals such as calcium, magnesium, so when you carry your water, desalinated water in the pipeline, this has no mineral and no buffer and very corrosive potential. And second reason is the dietary deficiency causing risks of heart and some vascular disease. So we need this mineral for our healthy drinking water. And WHO recommends 10 milligram per liter of magnesium and 30 milligram per liter of calcium for drinking water. So we need a remineralization. That's the one of reason we need to mix with the surface water, not only desalinated water, because surface water, dam water includes calcium, magnesium. And two solutions are widely used to mineralize the neutralized water, and lime. So this is lime is calcium hydroxide, or we put the calcite limestones. Calcite limestone is like stone, and then filtration and just dissolve the calcium, and we can have some good remineralized water. And CO2 addition, CO2 can also create the good buffer solution. As I mentioned before, the CO2, depending on pH, it becomes bicarbonate, carbonate, which will create the more alkalinity and buffer capacity of water, and this gives a good performance of our less corrosive potential. And sodium carbonate. Also, second option is the addition of calcium chloride or sodium carbonate can be remineralized compounds. Also, we discussed about fluoride. So fluoride is used mainly in Sydney desalination plant. So what's the good for fluoride? So fluoride can reduce your cavity in your teeth. So this fluoride is additional compound which can protect our teeth. And then we have another chlorination to remove some microorganism, while where our desalinated water carries to the pipeline and mixed with our dam water and then surface water. So water supply distribution system can be combined. And let's look at the operation cost. So what's the reason? Already we discussed about wastewater reuse and desalination. So which one do you prefer? What's the pros and cons? So seawater desalination, one of cons is energy. So 51% of energy cost. And then you have indirect cost, monitoring, maintenance, labor, and waste stream disposal, chemicals, and the membrane replacement. So energy cost is very high compared to wastewater use because of high salt concentration, which means high osmotic pressure. To overcome this high osmotic pressure, we need a high pressure pump, which is equivalent to energy consumption. So we have a seawater 35 gram per liter, which is almost 30 bar osmotic pressure. So you need around 60 bar high pressure for your reverse osmosis membrane, which will recover around 50% of your desalinated water. So that's the reason why energy cost is very, very high. So when you produce the 1 cubic meter of seawater, desalinated water, so energy requirement is the almost 3.5 to 4 kilowatt hour. So how much it costs for 1 kilowatt hour in Sydney? So it costs around $0.3 for 1 kilowatt hour energy cost, which means 4 kilowatt hour for 1 cubic meter. So you need around $1.2 for 1 cubic meter of desalinated water for only energy cost. So this energy cost is very high, and then we need to save how to reduce this energy for desalination plant. So that's the overall our future area which can contribute very significant desalination plant. So this is the all about desalination plant. Your assignment, so you can describe and design how to make a process for your Sydney or desalination plant, and then how to make sure your calculation to design mainly for reverse osmosis, because you can explain briefly for this kind of process. However, this arrow has to be main topic for this block 3, so we can focus more detail how to design reverse osmosis process